All right, we're going to call to order the Ocoee Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for May 14th, 2024. If everybody stand for the pledge and invocation. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, Lord God. Please help us do the work of the city, Lord. Please bless all our city staff, our citizens, and our first responders, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Chair Lomneck.
Here.
Vice Chair Forges.
Here.
Member Keller.
Here.
Member Williams.
Here.
Member Crocker.
Here.
Member Chacon.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes of April 19th?
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That is approval of minutes of the planning and zoning meeting held on April 9th, 2024 by member Keller, second by member Williams. All those in favor, let's vote. Good to go. No old business. New business. 338 North Bluford Avenue. This is the Rodriguez property, small scale, comprehensive plan future land use, map amendment from LDR, low density residential, to COM, commercial, and corresponding rezoning from R1AA, single family dwelling, to C2, community commercial. We have two projects, CPA 2024-005 and RZ 240304. Development Service Director Mike Berger.
Thank you. This property is located north of Silver Star on Bluford Avenue on the west side of Bluford, before the railroad tracks. It's over 0.44 acres, just under a half acre. It is vacant. It's adjacent to the Ocoee's downtown in downtown overlay district. We're under the Land Development Code update right now, and we may look to adding properties north of Silver Star into our downtown area. Right now we have a downtown core, a downtown neighborhood, a McGuire district, but we may look at something north of that. But Bluford Avenue is an arterial, a collector road at an arterial with Silver Star Road. The property is wooded. There's no structures on the site, no use. And the applicants came to me and said, I've got this land that's presently, it's almost a half acre, zoned residential. It'll be 2 parcels down from commercial. We just put a lift station to the west on Columbus Avenue. And do they have options for commercial in the future? And I said, yes, certainly. Everything along Bluford Avenue near Silver Star is ideal commercial sector to start trending that way over time. So they said they would like to go ahead and start the process and we're here with this rezoning and small scale land use amendment. As you can see, the land use is low density residential, which affords up to 4 single family homes an acre. And then the zoning is R1AA. And so the first item is a small scale, it's under 50 acres, amending the future land use designation from LDR, low density residential, to commercial, and then a rezoning from R1AA to C2 commercial. There is no intended use on the site. It would require site planning, and they're not at that point yet. They are business people, have owned the parcel for a while, and this is the first step to getting them going. I'll entertain any questions.
All right. Anybody have any questions for staff? All right, we'll open it up. Is the applicant here?
No, they are not.
Great. Open it up to the public. Anybody like to speak? You want to say anything? Okay. Well, you can come up and ask. No problem. We're gonna close the public hearing, bring it back up to the dais. Anybody have any other questions? If not, go
I
ahead.
do. Mike, can you please put the map back? The property that's on Silver Star in Bluford, what's the zoning on that one?
Silver Star and Bluford here.
Yes.
That is zoned C2 commercial. We have a small scale site plan for a 3,500 square foot office building.
Okay.
That is proposed on that.
Okay. And of course, from there is a gas station.
Across from that is a gas station.
Okay.
Rocket Chimp. Anybody else? All right, then I will take a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend approval of CPA 2024-005.
Thank you. I have a recommendation for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. So we have a recommendation for approval by Member Williams and a second by Vice Chair Forges. There's no other questions. Let's vote. Somebody missed? Is it me?
Couple people.
Of course it's me. One more person's missed.
I saw you hit it.
That passes 5-0. I have the second motion, please.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend approval of RZ 240304.
Thank you very much. I have a recommendation for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a recommendation for approval by Member Williams and a second by Member Keller. There's no other questions. Let's vote. That also passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, so new business item number 2 was the
Yeah.
Fountains West PUD.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant and the city staff recommend continuance. We're looking at a June 11th date for this. Because it's being continued by law, we still have to re-advertise again. So that's where the date we're shooting for. And we'll re-advertise, send out the 300-foot notices and all that.
Do we need a motion on that, or
Yes.
someone give me a motion, please, for continuance?
I'll make a motion that we continue the Fountains West PUD, second substantial amendment.
I second it.
All right, we have a, a motion to table Fountains West PUD, second substantial amendment of Lot 8, Fountains West PUD, and by Member Keller, and a second by Member Crocker. All those in favor? Good to go? All right, last but not least, number 3, amendment to the Ocoee Land Development Code LDC pertaining to part, is that 1A or IA?
1A.
Part
1A, Article 7, floodplain management, zoning manager Whitfield.
First, Chairman, I'd like to introduce staff and kind of what's going on with this process. The city has floodplain, properties that are in the floodplain, the 100-year, 500-year. And as you know, if you're a property owner and you are in the floodplain, you have to have floodplain insurance. And there's a program that municipalities and counties can enter in, and it's a laborious application and documentation, and you're able to get scored on this program and receive discounts for the residents that are in floodplain. And we've had attempts in the past that fell short, didn't even come close to submitting. And then we hired some really talented staff, which introduced you here, that were able to get us not only all the documentation, run through the hoops, have the interviews, but they were able to secure the city entering into the program, which is a big deal. And we entered in at a score between 1 and 9, and we got a 9. Right away, went to work to try to get it to a 7. We've submitted the documentation to get us a 7. Anything above that, you really got to be sophisticated and a big city and have a lot of resources. So we're gunning for a 7, and then we're going to move to 5, and think we'll probably land there for a while. But really a lot of big effort to get to this point. What you're seeing is, now that we're in that program, some of this is updating our land development code dealing with floodplain and regulations. We made an attempt at this back in 2018. We updated some of our criteria for building codes dealing with floodplain. And so what you're be looking at tonight is an addition to the land development code. It's some minor edits, an addition of some floodplain management that will be citywide. And Anach has a great team working with her. Seth is an engineer with Public Works. Seth is the one that is our certified floodplain manager and took on the task of getting us into the CRS system. He'll describe that. And then we have Lewis, our GIS representative, that can whip together any map you need. I had him make me some special ones that show me where you live and what you guys do on the weekends. No, just kidding. If you need it, if it's available data, he will track it down and put it together. So they're going to present this information to you. I just want to give you that introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
I've misplaced my new glasses, so you're going to see me doing this again tonight. I apologize. Okay, so the issue is whether or not the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the LPA, will make a recommendation of approval for the proposed changes to our floodplain management. The goal of it all is to update the entire Part 1A. So in Chapter 7, there are two parts. Part 1 is natural resource management. Part 1A is floodplain management. Also, we want to try to improve the city's CRS rating, class rating, like Mike mentioned, and also to increase the city's overall flood resiliency as a whole as much as we can. In this proposal, we are, so this ordinance, just as a little bit of background, it's a compilation of work that's done with collaboration between Development Services, Support Services, GIS, and Public Works, and the Department of Environmental Protection's Office of Floodplain Management. So their staff has been working with us and reading our draft ordinances with us over the past year. So this is, they're still reviewing this final draft. We look to get comments back from them in about a week or so, but this is what we have ready to present to the commission today. The ordinance will specifically focus on manufactured homes as well as critical facilities, the map that you have in the flood hazard areas, as well as some definition changes that'll get us the points that we need, and other activities and of developments that's in the special flood hazard area. So with that, just a little bit of background. I'm going to do most of the talking. Seth's here. He's the technical expert. I'm just setting the stage. The National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, you hear that terminology a lot. It's a program that provides flood insurance to properties, like Mike mentioned, that are in flood zones. The community rating system is FEMA's program that's strictly voluntary that local governments can participate in order to get discounts towards those insurance premiums. Right now, we are at a Class 9, as Mike mentioned, but you see in this table, it's Class 10, which is 0, Class 9, 8, 7, 6. And so there are point systems assigned to each of those classes, as well as the associated discounts. There's discounts for properties that are inside of the flood hazard area, as well as discounts for properties outside of the flood hazard area, which isn't as much as those properties inside. You'll see that Class 9 is only 500 points. We currently have 1,341 points. That gets us to 5%, but you'll see in the next slide the reason why, I'll explain in the next slide the reason why we don't have the Class 8. With Class 5, Class 9, we get a 5% discount. Even though we've been awarded it December 7th, 2023, it doesn't go into effect until October 1st. So towards the end, Seth and I will explain how the re-verification process, the timelines for those, and it sort of works a year ahead of time. So it'll go in effect October 1st. So going into why we are not at 8, even though we have over 1,000 points, it is because to get to Class 8, there is a prerequisite that the city code does not make any distinction between manufactured homes and other buildings in those special flood hazard areas. So to just make this one change in our current code to remove that differentiation in both the definitions and anywhere in Article 7 that speaks to manufactured homes versus other buildings, we meet that, we would meet that prerequisite, and our existing points would get us to the Class 8, which will be the 10% discount. So that's right off the bat. If we do nothing else, it'll be that, and then the Class of 8, and then going from 5% to 10%. Okay, now the details. To go higher in our CRS classification via additional points, the first thing is, and we sort of, Seth and I worked together to pull out the key things. It's not showing up necessarily in the order of the ordinance. It's just the key things that we thought would make the most sense in terms of how we're presenting it to you and how the point systems are added together. The first topic is relative to cumulative substantial improvements. So in the ordinance, you'll see that there is a definition now for what cumulative substantial improvements is. It adds a time frame to it. So basically, in the current code, there's no accumulation. It just has that definition. What we're proposing is that reconstruction and repairs over a 10-year period is counted as cumulative. Same thing for modifications and improvements is a 5-year period for cumulative. So each of those would get us, and I put in the parentheses there, the number of points that we would get for making those changes in our code. And number 3, in terms of the ICC, and this is where I get a little lost, so I'm going to defer to this part to Seth, but it deals with the cost of compliance for insurance coverage, and I'll hand this over to Seth.
Of course. Thank you, Nach. So we have added some regulatory language with the help of the Office of Floodplain Management to define increased costs of compliance and also add a technical amendment to the floodplain management ordinance. Now, increased costs of compliance, if a resident or property owner of hits a threshold of substantial improvement or substantial damages of their house, then reach a certain threshold, they have to upgrade their house so it meets current codes, current building codes, rather than when they might have been built like 10 years ago. So really we're just trying to protect them in the future. So if they're going to rebuild, they're going to protect. And if they hit that threshold and now they have to improve their house or fix it up to meet our current codes, then they are eligible for up to $30,000 towards those reconstruction costs and improvement costs, where previously that is not available to them because we don't have it in our code.
Thank you. Also, too, when we started this process a year ago, we were working a amendment to Chapter 51 in the Code of Ordinances, which deals with the building code, and Chapter 180, which is the LDC dealing with Article 7. With the help of the Office of Floodplain Management, we extracted from the building code ordinance the references to technical amendments per the Florida Building Code so that we can essentially just move one ordinance forward. So that's where you'll see in the ordinance references to the technical amendments of the Florida Building Code. The next change is the lower substantial improvements threshold. Basically, what we have in the code now is a threshold of 50% damage. We are proposing that we keep essentially the language, marry in or merge in that time frame of 10 years or 5 years, but also drop that threshold from 50% to 49%. So that 1% change in our threshold would yield us 20 points. So we thought that that would just be, for a 1% difference, it would be worth it to do it to get those 20 points. The next one is with respect to protecting our critical facilities. That is worth 80 points. So basically, right now, the code doesn't make any distinction between critical facilities and the floodplain flood zones. So, for example, you may have a critical facility like a nursing home or a hospital where the building itself is flood resilient, but the access way to it is not. So we're going to have a situation where the folks in the building are safe, but our EMS can't get to them, and if the EMS is there and the flood gets worse, they can't get out. So what some of the code changes that we're doing is putting more protections on the facilities themselves as well as the ingress, egress during times of emergency. And in order to do that, we are suggesting that we don't allow any critical facilities in the 500-year floodplain, which is a narrower, right?
It's a slightly, so overall, the 500-year would include the 100-year floodplain.
Yep.
But within the city of Ocoee, we have very few areas where the 500-year would increase. Like, the 500-year surface area, is not substantially larger than the 100-year floodplain. So it would not significantly affect our critical facilities. And if you look at the map that we provided all of you, you can see where our critical facilities are in comparison to the 100-year and 500-year floodplain, which is the blue. And you can see that we don't have any currently in the 500-year floodplain, and we hope to codify that we will not allow any in the future in order to protect these operations and facilities that need to be 100% functional during a disaster. So as Anach mentioned, hospitals, police, fire, schools where we might have shelters, and nursing homes.
And that would get us 80 points. Local drainage protection. So currently, the code doesn't really speak to how we protect our natural resources, drainage ways, and things like that. But the city is doing it, I believe, in the engineering standards manual.
Yes, so these local drainage protections are in our engineering standards manual and already currently being implemented. But by codifying them in such a way in the ordinance, we're able to, accumulate an additional 120, how many?
Yep.
120 points towards our next CRS classification, which gets us closer to an additional 5% off any NFIP flood insurance.
Yep, so essentially we're doing it now, we're just codifying it to get us the points that we need. So, lowest finished floor being 18 inches above the crown of the adjacent street, that's 60 points. Lot drainage accounts for street flooding and local drainage relative to buildings. And then positive drainage ways for buildings to an approved point of collection and not creating hazard areas to neighboring properties. So those combined would be 120 points. And we're pretty confident, at least that is, on getting us those, that doing this will get us those points. I do want to mention that I put this blue line in here to remind me to say that at this juncture, we would have, I put in my notes, 1,661 points. If all of these things are done, that would put us in squarely in the class 7, and that would also only put us 339 points away from class 6, which is even more discounts, 20% discount for our residents. And I believe the class 6 is the one where, so the class 6 is the one where the properties in the special flood hazard area would get 20%, but that's also the critical point at which properties outside of the special flood area goes from 5% to 10%. So it'll be an overall boost for everybody in the city, not just those properties in the special flood hazard area. Sure.
Just so you understand, there's, we have a bunch of neighborhoods that were built in floodplain before there was criteria. So we have like 100 and something.
The city has under 200 buildings that are technically in the floodplain as of September 2021. However, due to letters of map revisions and letters of map amendments that have submitted to FEMA since then, we've about halved that number. And we've been able to do that by bringing in, as it says, letter of map revision for fill. So we've raised those properties out of the elevation, the base flood elevation of the floodplain.
So we're still dealing with a good number of homes that are in floodplain, right? And if they have damage, you cumulative, and that's what those are kind of speaking to. Then you have lots that were created a long time ago that weren't built that are adjacent to floodplain. And they can build a building, they can build a single-family home, they can do an accessory structure. So that some of these, we're talking about those properties that are in floodplain or right next to it if something should happen. And obviously, in our newer codes, haven't allowed a development to be in floodplain, or if they had some entitlements, they brought in fill. If you look on your maps, some of the subdivisions along Clark Road were in, but they brought fill in years ago, pulled themselves out. We've done the paperwork to show that they're not in the floodplain, but we still have a number of homes and buildings, accessory structures that are in the floodplain. And so we've adopted criteria in our building code that says if you're going to rebuild that shed, you've got to put drainage passageways through it so water can go through it. And so some of these are dealing with new construction, some of these are dealing with those homes that we've just had we've annexed homes that were in the county that are in the floodplain. So I just want you to think about that. When you say about 49% damage, this is a house that's existing, been in the floodplain, it's had damage over the years. We're going to start tracking that, and they have to rebuild to today's codes. And that's what this does. By requiring that, which is good for the homeowner and future homeowners, it gets us points. So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. So a lot of the, what you don't see in the ordinance and in the PowerPoint is the significant amount of research and whatnot that Seth and Lewis have been doing. They've mapped out everything. Lewis is like a super uber, like OCD, attention to detail. He will get it corrected to the .00 acreage. Like, he can't sleep at night until he does that. It's amazing. So other changes that we're proposing, so that for these, they deal specifically with drainage ways, both inside and outside of the special flood hazard areas. However, the max is 100 points. We're not 100% sure at this point what we're gonna get. So the point system is to be determined. So I didn't include this number in the 1661 that I mentioned earlier. So we are proposing some code language that will protect those drainage ways that aren't designated drainage ways per FEMA. So they just happen to be drainage ways that exist in the city limits, but they're not designated in one way or another by either the city or FEMA. So we are proposing that we at least protect it by 5 feet. Did you wanna add
Yes,
anything?
yeah, so in addition to, so what Anach is saying for this one is drainage ways are anything where water can be flowing continuously or intermittently throughout the year, during a storm, after a storm, before a storm. And as we all know, water flows, and it's not always going to be in a flood zone, but we don't want to build right next to it due to erosion, or you don't want to pipe it and then provide too small of an area where it's throttled and you end up with upstream flooding, and the downstream is not flooding, but you're throttling that water. So in this section for higher standards, we've proposed that anytime you're going to cross a drainage way, you need to make sure that you are providing enough conveyance volume to convey a 100-year storm, so you don't, to minimize the risk of any upstream or downstream flooding, and also to provide a setback from the top of bank from any drainage way if you're not going to cross it, and that'll protect us from any erosion of the banks and cause problems. And there are 2 examples in the city that I referenced here that we are dealing with. In the West Orange Industrial Complex around Roper and Capitol, we have 2 culverts that are undersized and they cause upstream flooding. And you may know Mannheim is one of them that suffers from flooding here, and also across the 429 into Winter Garden and unincorporated Orange County. Now, they cannot do any improvements over there until we release this throttle. And so the city has submitted for grant assistance with the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to help us alleviate this problem and bring it up to better protection standards and protect our citizens and the citizens of our neighbors. And then we have a project that came through commission just last week where we are doing a drainage improvement on Thornbrook Boulevard. Thornbrook. And we are putting a perforated pipe in that one and then covering it to convey water but minimize any erosion that is happening on this south wall of the subdivision that is just north of the ditch, because they put the wall too close to the bank and their erosion is happening and their wall is beginning to be undermined. So these are 2 costly projects that the city can avoid by implementing these protective measures around drainage ways, along with any damages that would happen by not doing these, like Mannheim.
And
Oh,
then,
go ahead.
Let me ask a question.
Yes,
Just
of course.
so I'm understanding, can you go back one more? So if the reason why you're saying that because even with what we have right now, we had to make these improvements, but by making the change to the code, that it provides even greater protection? Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly correct.
I
So
just want to make sure I was getting.
no, thank you for the question. Excuse me. We're trying to provide additional protections and increase the community's flood resiliency. So say we get another storm like Ian or Irma, or when we had 3 in a row back to back. we are protecting our citizens and improved properties from flooding that follows these storms. And so when you're only building to a 10, 25, 50-year conveyance capacity, you end up with flooding because, Ian was a 250-year, 500-year storm event here in Florida. And these storms are happening more frequently and with greater ferocity. And we want to protect our community now and into the future.
Yeah, so what you'll see in the code is that we provided language for existing conditions where they could do retroactive improvements. Also, basically, in terms of what Sal was saying, for example, if the pipe for a 24-hour storm event is 12 inches, the 100-year may require larger, so that if it's covered by a road or as concrete or whatnot, there's still space inside of that pipe for the water to flow at that higher storm event.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Great question.
And then we have some general changes. I don't know if you looked at Part 1A in Article 7. It's quite confusing because it's Part 1A, and then the next subsection is A, then B. So if you're
Like,
trying,
that's the confusing part?
so we are saying, let's just call it Part 1, Part 2. And then Part 2 can start with Section 710. We will place in reservation 7, 8, and 9 in Part 1, so that should we need to make changes to Part 1 for natural resource management, we still have 3 available sections to do that in. And then there's a straight renumbering and then adjusting all of the cross-referencing. By moving the definition section to the front, right after the applicability, just like in Part 1, it just sort of nicely worked out to where all the other section numbers just became, like if it's 2A, it just became 12, and we just dropped the A. So then when you're referencing 7-2AA, it's now 7-2A, or I'm sorry, 7-12A. So people will know exactly where to look, and it's so much easier. Let's see, we also added some additional provisions as far as the permit submittal documentation in order to assist our city reviewers and to improve our documentation for projects so that we have those elevation certificates and maps and letters of amendments and all those things to keep us on track with getting and maintaining our classifications. What we didn't present so far and is that in addition to the code language that we are working on, Seth and others have, part of the CRS is doing the public outreach, preparing informational flyers and attending like the farmers market, the community market, passing out flyers, educating the public when they come to the city's booth on the flood insurance, the CRS, flood resiliency, and things like that. So all of that is part of that background 2 years of effort that staff has been doing to get us to be able to be eligible to participate in the CRS. So we want to still continue to do those outreach things. So in terms of the process, like I mentioned, our Class 9 goes into effect October 1. We have to maintain that certification for 1 year. That means that the documentation, we have to submit those certificates and those elevations and all of that to FEMA. The re-verification process, like we can apply at any time, but the process starts in April. So for us, because our Class 9 starts October of this year, the re-verification process won't start until April of 2025. So that's why we're bringing this amendment now, because then we will have these code references in our books for when we do apply and start that re-verification process in April of next year. We will already be implementing these changes. So essentially adopting the code changes, doing these other steps that are necessary as part of the re-verification process, providing them the documentation, that'll get us geared for, to be in a good standing for a re-verification to class up in next year, which if we were to get it, won't go into effect until 26. So it leaves a year. So it has to be in effect for a year. we work towards increasing it. Once we get that reclass, it doesn't go into effect. Let's say, like this year, we got in December, it doesn't go into effect until October of that following year. So with that, we can entertain other questions, and of course, we are asking for a recommendation of approval.
Anybody have any questions for staff?
I have a couple there.
All right, we're going to start this way and work our way down.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the biggest question I have is the Lake Bennett Center.
Correct.
It looks like you have a 500 year in front of it and a 100 year behind it. Is that going to affect dramatically what they're going to have to do in order to build there?
So the map doesn't show the building footprint, unfortunately, but it does show like the general location, of course. That building is not within the floodplain, but is very adjacent to. So it is a place that we would want to keep an eye on. And we have had, during Irma, their parking lot did have some flooding, and the city did have to maintain some pumping. But that's one of the reasons why going forward into the future, we wouldn't want to allow critical facilities like that to be built near flood zones.
Were you asking more about for city center than you were Lake Bennett?
I think it's more city center as well, because Main
All that's
Street, now that's, yeah.
That's in the-
So City Center, well, the
Yeah.
project called City Center, if there's a phase 2 on the north side of Main Street,
Right.
all of this comes into play when that goes through. We don't have a site plan, we don't have anything proposed for the north side of Main Street.
Okay.
So, yes. Yeah, so you're seeing a lot of the land, so it's all of that. Up there, yeah, everything north of Main Street, there's a lot of 100-year floodplain. There's a ditch that runs from over there by Cumberland, just east of McGuire, down behind the cheerleading. And that's one of those ditches that's doesn't have a designation, and there's a couple little ditches over by that, so, yes. But it will come into play if whoever develops that north side.
And then it just, again, Lake Bennett Center itself, that looks like the only one that's really an issue to us.
The city also already has in our code, in our ordinance and our engineering standards manual, that we don't build in a floodway, which is what this flood area is north of Main Street.
Well, that's all wetlands back there anyway. That's all
Yeah.
the ditch.
It is correct.
Cell tower.
Yeah.
It's not really where city center is, but it's close, or what's supposed to be city. You got anything, Lou?
I do.
Okay, come on.
Let's go back to the first proposal for cumulative substantial improvement, 80 points. Explain to me how this works again, and who keeps track of this?
So when somebody would submit, starting from whenever this ordinance is approved, for any substantial improvement project or substantial damage, they would go on their application. They would have to provide their market value of the structure that they are working on, and then the costs of their improvements or repairs would have to be compared to and provided a percentage of that market value. And so it's the market value at that time of the project or repair or improvement. And so that would stay within the city's software system and kept track in that way. Good question.
Okay, and after so many, I guess, major improvements, up to 10 years, and that person has to either demolish the property?
They don't have to demolish it. They can continue to stay there. What'll happen is if they say they do 5 projects and they're each at like 10% of the market value at that time, by the time they get that 5th one, they'll hit that threshold of 49%, and they'll have to bring the entire structure up to current code, whatever it may be. And for most places, it won't really do much to them because they're already outside the flood zone. But in flood buildings that are in the specific or special flood hazard area, they'll have to meet our freeboard, which is 2 feet above the base flood elevation.
Okay, and the homeowner themselves provides you with a market evaluation report?
They Sorry, ask that one more time.
So basically, the homeowner would have to provide you with their own evaluation of their home value at that time.
We, the city can either, they'd have to hire somebody to provide that market value or provide it because it's just that structure.
The city.
The homeowner, the city could,
It could be biased then.
huh?
Then it could be biased.
If it's by the homeowner,
Yeah.
yeah. So we could include that it would be just the city or a third party.
Yeah. So when we get a building permit, the contractor puts the value of construction.
Correct.
And there is an ICC table, International Code Council, that we verify. And so if they say the improvement is 15,000, but they're doing the patio and everything in the back bedroom, gonna do whatever, the roof, we can look at it and say, no, it's really $40,000 worth of improvements. And we can apply your permit fee based off that. So that's what we would look at for the value of the reconstruction.
Of the,
So you
okay.
can't just put a number, say, you know, I have a guy, he's gonna do it for $8,000.
Well-
And when we can look and it's 35,000.
No, I get that, but again, that construction cost has to be a certain percentage of the home value itself for you to consider it to be major. Who provides the home value? The homeowner? Or do you do it yourself to be certain?
No, they'd have to provide a third party like evaluation of the structure.
They have to do it.
And aren't there certified professionals?
I hope they hired me. All right, that's just food for thoughts, that's all.
Good question. Thank you.
I don't know, I think with this particular, if we were to do this, I would probably suggest that maybe in that language, if the valuation report that is provided to the city doesn't seem fair market value, then two reports, one by your own third party and one by theirs, and pick the best out of the two. Because there's room for bias here.
Yeah, I believe in the CRS, and they already require they would require a third party, but we can make sure that we enter it into this codification as well.
I understand it. Third party could be a cousin.
Oh, like have a third party be their cousin?
That is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we could
Because you
certainly,
are going to affect, because eventually you're going to take these values and make a decisions, you need to reconstruct or demolish and sell a vacant lot.
we can certainly look at how other jurisdictions do it if they use like a third-party property appraiser service, and bring something as part of your recommendation to the commission if this passes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. No, that was good.
Member Williams.
Oh, it's okay.
You sure?
Yeah, I
It's your
cleared
last,
it up
it's
in
your
my
last
head. I
time.
know, but I cleared it up
Just
in my
make
head.
something up.
No, I won't waste the people.
Member Crocker.
Nothing, no comment.
Member Chacon.
Yes, a couple of questions. So when you say the ICC assistance, where does that money come from?
So increased cost of compliance would be provided by the National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA.
By FEMA. And so there's no real cost for the residents of Ocoee.
There would be a cost. It'd be whatever their whatever damages or improvements there are to bring it up to code, and then they may be eligible through this new language to receive $30,000 towards those improvements or repairs.
Okay. Now, I see that going one step is 5%. What does that represent value-wise?
It depends on the type of flood insurance that they have under NFIP.
Roughly?
I don't know flood insurance costs.
I'm out of the flood zone, so.
Not a flood zone, I don't know either.
Yeah.
All right, so I was just wondering, what is the cost benefit at the end? If we're going 5%,
hmm
then is there any cost involved, and what is the benefit of?
Yeah.
How many residents would that benefit, those discounts, and what is the,
Great question. Now, keep in mind that these discounts don't just apply to residents in the flood zone. They apply citywide to all 50,000 or so residents that we have. Now, those outside of the flood zone don't have to pay the flood insurance premium, but they can choose to get it if they want to protect themselves, because you never know when a flood might hit, whether you have damage from a leaky roof or a pipe, or you just happen to be kind of in a low depression zone that is not mapped by FEMA. So having flood insurance is a benefit. So anyone who would have flood insurance would benefit, but those who are most at risk get a larger discount. Good question.
Those are my questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody want to say anything? Nope. All right, we'll close the public hearing, bring it up to the dais. Does anybody have any questions?
I have one more.
Yes, please. Are you serious?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Please.
Item number 3, protection of critical facilities. I get the explanation that you guys gave. Obviously, you have the building, but you can't get to it because the roads are flooded. But what if it's within, I don't know, 50 yards from a dry area?
So so this would apply to critical facilities within the 500-year floodplain. Beyond that, it would be outside of the floodplain management. If there is flooding for other reasons, I wouldn't be able to provide protections throughout the entire city when they're not in the floodplain. It'd be up to them to build smartly, and all of our other codes, both drainage and building codes, to protect them in that way.
Great, because I think there's another slide that says we are now going to look into elevations being 18 inches above water in certain areas. So why couldn't we, again, if we add parameters to those construction, would we still get the 80 points? Or is it no at all? Is it no critical facility at all to get those 80 points?
So it's from the point of adoption, it's we do it or we don't do it.
Okay.
We already apply the building where it's 18 inches above the crown of the road. That's already applied to new construction throughout the city. We already provide protections where the drainage would flow away from the house or the structure, because you don't want the house to be the lowest point on the parcel. And we also provide and have requirements and implement where the water is flowing away, it flows to a designated place. That's why we have so many stormwater ponds around Florida. You know, we want to convey the stormwater runoff to a safe location that is going to protect our improved properties and our residents. So those are already done, and those would apply still to whether you're in the X zone, like a non-flood zone, or in a flood zone. But again, as Mike pointed out, the city already does great lengths to keep, to not allow and prohibit building within the flood zone. This is just taking it a little step farther to add a little additional protection to the 500-year flood zone for critical facilities that we would want to keep available and access throughout the flood zone. So it would apply to that facility, like that parcel and its property within the 500-year flood zone.
Okay. I just want confirmation as to whether it's all or nothing, that's all. Because if it's not all or nothing, we could probably put some parameters as to how they should build in those areas. But if it's all or nothing, then
Great question. Thought you said you had 2 more.
that's it.
Perfect.
We like them.
I'll take a motion.
So, let's see, where are we? So, Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend and support, thank you, staff's recommendation, acting as the local planning agency, to recommend approval for the proposed ordinance to amend Part 1A of Article 7, floodplain management in its entirety as stated by staff.
Great. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion for recommendation for approval by Member Williams, and we have a second by Member Keller. All those in favor, vote please. That passes 5-0. And on
Thank
that
you.
note, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Very informative.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous project status report by Director Services, Rumor.
Nothing of significance to report. Past projects, the pickleball facility was turned down from the city commission. Gardenia was turned down, but then they were offered a rehearing, which will be next week. And that's really items of interest.
Any, is the pickleball people coming back in 6 months?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know if they're still going to think about any outside aspect. If it's all indoors, it's not a special exception. It's just the normal large-scale site plan, so.
Yeah.
Mike, I had somebody ask me the other day with the way that property that's maybe gonna be called City Center is taking its time, is there a way to reopen Main Street?
Yes, we've had this discussion recently. It would just require, there's a first lift of asphalt on it. It would require striping and signage physically to access it. Here's the problem. Many parts of the road is actually still under their ownership. It wasn't all dedicated as right-of-way. So that would have come when it was turned over. So that's a limiting factor.
That was the
And then-
answer I gave. Is there, there's no bond or anything like that that gets us to take it, or no takings, can't do anything like that?
Taking could be a possibility, but who are you taking it from? I don't know if, I've heard it's in foreclosure or something, but I don't know.
Well, that's the next question. What happens, look, if it does go into foreclosure or it goes into bankruptcy?
That's what we are gearing up. We've made a list of all the outstanding punch list items. So for the infrastructure, they've constructed right-of-ways, stormwater retention, they've put utilities in the ground. All of those have not been finalized. And so there's punch list items just to, if you were gonna finish it, to close out. But we've got to go back and look, as nothing's been done or maintained in several years. So even the infrastructure that you're punch listing may have to be just ripped out. And so we're putting all of that together.
All right. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other
Yeah,
questions?
got one other question, Mike. First of all, I want to say thank you for those planning classes. I really enjoyed them. I'm
We're good, yeah.
So glad I missed it.
Yeah, and my one question, and I sent you an email on it.
Yeah, I got to research it, a group membership in the
Yeah.
P&Z, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah,
Yes,
because I was
well-
just wondering if we could do that, because
Yes.
for $120 for the 6 of us or 7 of us to get that, I thought it would probably be a really good deal.
Okay. It's one of those, I've got to, the commission would also be eligible, so I got to work it and see if,
Yep.
No, it'd be great if we could. I'm so sad I missed that thing. I had to go out of town that morning, so. Anybody else have any other questions for Mike?
I just have a comment. May I make a final comment?
Yes.
First,
Oh, okay.
I would like to thank Member Williams for her long tenure right now, but other than Joel. I mean, she is one of the longest serving members of this board. We are extremely sad to hear her leave, but we've been better off for her tenure here, so this is her last meeting. We've got some new members that are gonna be coming up. Also, I believe Member Crocker, this is your last meeting as well? Yes, sir. We thank you for your service as well, so Member Williams, would you like to say something?
Yes, I just want to say, what an incredible journey. What an incredible journey to be a part of the city's development policy-making process. I've been very excited to be a part. It is an honor, and I love seeing the great changes in our city. And I will continue to see those great changes as a member of one board or another. So thank you for this experience. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Member Crocker, would you like to say anything?
Is it on?
Yep.
Yes, I would also like to thank everybody for the opportunity to participate. It's been very enlightening, and every project so far has been well protected.
Great.
So I appreciate the opportunity, and I thank everybody for it.
Thank you. Yeah, we like to see more citizens be involved in our boards. We have plenty of boards in the city. This, to me, is one of the, probably the cream of the top before the commission. So this is a great board. We have some new members coming on that'll be here next month. So anybody else you have something else?
We'll just need to plan on a quick refresher training for everybody, JJ. And then once everybody gets settled in, we'll do a shirt order. I know Lou needs some shirts. So
Where do we return?
you return them to the front desk. And we'll take care of it. Let me see your shirt, Mr. Crocker. Oh, you have your name? Okay, then all you need to do is just cut out the logo. Yeah, you can just cut out the logo and mail it to us, or you can return the shirt because it's got your name on it, so.
I don't live that far away.
But I've been in Georgia before and ran into somebody with a City of Ocoee board shirt on, so we would like that you don't wear those.
Somebody would do that, okay.
Don't return it to Goodwill or anything.
No.
Well, JJ, because we've been paying you for 2 hours, you want to say anything?
Well, it is also a pleasure to be here, everybody.
All right, on that note, we'll adjourn. Thank you.